What's going on, everybody? It's Eric here with your road to financial freedom. And in today's episode, we're going to go over a 5-year retirement plan. Now, most people typically view retirement as I'm going to work for 40 years at a job or at a couple jobs, save up, retire when I'm 65, and then live on the beach sipping margaritas. Personally, I'm not really into the whole idea of waiting 40 years to be able to go sit on the beach and sip margaritas. So I came up with a plan that'll get me there slightly faster. So it's primarily with real estate. Actually, it's pretty much 100% with real estate. It's the goal I'm pretty much attempting to follow. I kind of screwed it up already, but it's a basic framework that I'm roughly following, and it should work out pretty close. And we're going to kind of see where the next few months goes with the whole sickness going on, and where the economy goes and where the job market goes and what happens with that. But let me break it down for you, walk you through this, and so that you guys can see kind of what the plan is and what all these letters and numbers and everything means. But quick disclaimer, this is an example. These are arbitrary numbers that work in my area. If you live in San Diego, they probably don't work, right? If you live in New York City, they probably don't work. Now, that's not to say you can't do this. It just might take longer because property might be way more expensive. Things might not cash flow as much. But if you live in a cheaper market, maybe you could do this in 3 years. Personally, I don't really know every single market in the country. So do some research in your own market. Or if you're willing to move to a different market where it would make sense, you could do that. You could also live where you live and invest somewhere else. That's just going to slow down the process a little bit because of the strategies we're going to use in my 5-year retirement plan. So let's go over what it is, what it looks like, and how it works. Okay, so in year 1, right, we got 5 years. Year 1, you're going to house hack a multifamily property, okay? So essentially that means buying a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, doing a 3.5% down FHA loan, or doing a 5% down conventional, moving in, and having the other units cash flow. Now, that might not be the easiest thing to find in your area, again, so this can be area dependent, so just keep that in mind. With all these examples, all of the multifamilies that I'm assuming that we're going to buy are $300,000. I know, 5 minutes down the street, there's a duplex on the market for $115,000. I know for a fact in my area. I also know there's a triplex for $440,000, about 10 minutes closer to downtown. So it varies. Again, arbitrary numbers. So year 1, you're going to house hack a multifamily, and that's it. The biggest thing in year 1 is work on your savings rate. Save as much money as you possibly can, which we went over in a previous video. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. So work on your savings rate, and then do the math on how much money you're saving / making from house hacking. So instead of paying $1,200 a month in rent, maybe you're making $300 a month living in that house hack. So it's not just the additional $300, but it's the net difference of $1,500, because it's the $1,200 plus $300. So $1,500 saved over a year adds up. So with that in mind, year 2, we're going to do the exact same thing, and that's it. Buy another house hack multifamily. Now, the reason we're only doing 1 per year is A, you got to save up the down payment, but B, if you do a 5% down conventional owner occupied or an FHA loan, you have to live in that property for 12 months. Now, if there are extenuating circumstances like you get married, you have kids, your job pulls you away, those things are different. But if you're just moving just to move, or if you're moving to acquire a new piece of real estate at a lower down payment, then you have to live there for 12 months. So year 1, house hack a multifamily. Year 2, house hack a multifamily. And with these multifamilies, the goal, and so run your numbers before you buy it, the goal should be once you move out, it will cash flow $1,000. And maybe that sounds unrealistic in your area. I know my triplex currently cash flows about $1,300 a month, plus or minus. And I'm intending on refinancing soon, and I'll kind of walk you guys through that when I get to that. And when I refinance, it should cash flow closer to $1,700 or $1,800. So yeah, so that's the goal. So with all these multifamilies that you're house hacking, the goal is to have a cash flow $1,000. Okay, so at the end of year 2, going into year 3, we're going to house hack another multifamily property. During the course of this year, we are also going to purchase a rental property. So we're going to purchase an additional rental property. So year 3, we're buying 2 separate pieces of real estate. Now with the rental property, the basic numbers I used, we're buying it at $150,000, and we're doing a 20% down payment. Because you're not living in it, you have to do a bigger down payment. That is going to be a $30,000 down payment. And then for other multifamilies, it's going to be $15,000 down. Now, why are we waiting until year 3? I'm just kind of making an assumption that we're making about an average salary of 40 to 60 grand a year-ish. You might make way more than that. You might make less. So again, this is just a skeleton of a plan. You can mix and match and kind of find what works best for you. But because of all the money you're saving in year 1 and all the money you're saving and then making in year 2, in year 3, you'll then have the additional cash to buy a rental property. Year 4, same thing. We're going to house hack a multifamily and buy a rental. Year 5, we're going to house hack a multifamily and buy a rental. So it takes 5 years. Over the span of 5 years, you're moving every 12 months, and every time you move, you're moving into another multifamily property. Years 3, 4, and 5, we are buying another rental property, and the goal with that rental property is to have a cash flow of $500. And again, depending on the market, that might not really be possible. So that's where you might want to look into investing out of state, and that's a totally different topic for another time. But it is an option. So by the end of year 5, we've got 5 multifamily properties and then 3 additional rentals. Those additional rentals can be multifamily. They can also be single family rentals. It kind of just depends on what you want. Just make sure that it cash flows the 500. So within 5 years, we've purchased 8 pieces of property. You guys with me so far? If so, if this makes sense, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. If you're on podcast, subscribe, toss a review. Let me know if all this makes sense and if it sounds like a good plan thus far. Or if you disagree, let me know and let's chat about it. So we have 5 multifamilies, each of which cash flows $1,000. So from the multifamilies alone, we have $5,000 a month in cash flow. From the 3 rentals, each at $500 a month, that gives us $1,500. $5,000 plus $1,500 is $6,500 a month, which is $78,000 per year. That's pretty darn good, and it took you 5 years to do that. Let's just pause and just comprehend that for a second. $78,000 per year, and it took you 5 years to do that. And none of this is overly challenging, And it actually gets easier each year you do it because you learn more and more about managing rental properties, about buying rental properties, about analyzing deals, about working with your agent, all these different things. So slowly you get better at it and it gets even easier, which is pretty neat. So again, with these multifamily down payments, that 5%, you're just gonna save that, okay? That's where your savings rate comes in. Drink less alcohol, go out less, stop buying as much clothing, work on your at-home grocery budget, things like that. Maybe sell your car and get a cheaper car, little things like that. So you're gonna save the down payment, and then for the rental down payments, we're gonna save that, and we're gonna get that down payment from savings, but also from the cash flow from the multifamily properties that we're purchasing. So at the end of year 5, again, we've got $6,500 a month and 78 grand per year in cash flow. Now, if that's not cool enough, check out this next part. So over here, 30 years from now, right? So let's just say you're like me. You start when you're 22, you're done when you're 27, 30 years from now, you're 57, okay? You're sitting on $1.95 million worth of assets, and that's in today's value, right? In 2020, you purchased that all in 2020-ish, of course. You get what I'm saying? On average, okay, not every year, on average, real estate will appreciate 3 to 5% per year. Let's just lowball, let's say 3%, okay? So I did the math. You can just look it up if you don't believe me. Just go to appreciation calculator and put in the asset value. 30 years from now, at an average of 3% over that time frame, it'll be worth $4.733161 million. $4,733,161. And you want to know the best part about it? 30 years from now, it's paid off because you got fixed rate, low interest mortgage payments on all of these things because you moved into them. That's one of the biggest benefits of this. When you buy a regular rental property, which you'll have to do for 3 of the 8, but when you do the house hack, you get owner-occupied financing, which is typically 1 to 2 points cheaper, which is great. And, you know, if we have an interest rate drop later down the road, you want to refinance, you can do that. But check out this number. So you're sitting, okay, so you're 57 years old, right? You're sitting on $4.7 million worth of real estate, plus 78 grand a year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is freaking crazy. So $4.7 million sitting on plus 70 grand a year, and you've added nothing to your portfolio for the past 25 years because you bought everything in your first 5 years, right? And you just let it slowly compound over time and just slowly build up. Now, in that 5 years, of course, well, personally, I certainly intend on doing more. I'm not gonna, do this for 5 years and then just stop. But if you're making 78 grand a year, you kind of have the option to, if you want. And then if you have a low cost of living, let's just say you live on 30 grand a year or 40 grand a year, you could then save, half or more of this 70 grand a year and invest that. You could put it in the stocks, you could put it in more real estate, you could pay your houses off early. Personally, I wouldn't do that, but that's a question for another time. We'll make another video about should you pay a mortgage off early or not. But yeah, so 70 grand a year, every year, indefinitely, right? Because it's just cash flow from rental properties. Plus you're sitting on $4.7 million. And the cool thing is you can either A, sell them, or B, you can take out what's called a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, which is literally a credit card that the bank gives you against the equity in the property that you have. So you'd essentially get, personally, I don't know if it's 8 credit cards or one big one, but basically you get a credit card with a $4.7 million limit. Oh my God, why don't more people do this? It blows my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm trying to get you guys to do. Come join me, do this with me, because I'm here, okay? I'm in here too, I'm just getting started. Start this with me, DM me, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on YouTube. I don't know how you hit me up on a podcast, but hit me up, let's connect. I want to do this with you, I want to help. But yeah, okay, so you can do a HELOC where you get a credit card, or you can do a cash out refinance, which is where you go to the bank and say, hey bank, this property's now worth, whatever, $400,000. And the bank will say, great, you can have 80% of that. Perfect. So they give you 80%, 20% stays in the property, and then you have all that cash. And then because it's still a rental property and it's still tenant occupied, the tenant just pays back that 80% over another 30 years. So overall, guys, does this plan make sense? Does this, I feel like I explained this pretty well, but does this plan make sense? And do you see, not necessarily any holes in it, but does it sound overly complicated, Because a lot of people, when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, for me, retirement's in 40 years and I got to work at this job that, it's a cool job, but I'd like more than 2 weeks off per year. It's like, you can have that. And one of the biggest things I always get whenever I talk about this with people, especially from people who are a little bit older, they're always like,
oh, what are you gonna do when you're done? Just go sit on a beach and sip margaritas?
I'm like, probably, at least in the beginning. But no, for me personally, it's not so that I can go sit on my butt and do nothing, right? I'm not that kind of person. I want to do stuff. But it's so that I have the option to. If I want to take a month and go live in Bora Bora, I can do that because I'm making $78,000 a month, or a year, from passive income from my real estate. And I know people are gonna be like, oh,
Oh, well, it's not passive because you have to manage it, you have to fix it.
I'm like, okay, great. Well, let's just say on average it takes 10 hours a week, or however many hours, I don't know, you guys do the math. 10 hours a week at $6,500 a month, that's pretty darn good dollar per hour. So maybe it's not 100% passive, maybe it's, as I start calling it now, leveraged income. Okay, so you're leveraging your income. Dollar per hour goes way up when you're doing it this way versus working at the same 9-to-5 job where you get your same salary with a 2% raise every year. To me, that's not very attractive or appealing. I would so much rather do this. So, what do you guys think of the plan? Comment down below, let me know. If you have questions, please ask me. I would love to chat more about this. I'd love to get you guys' input. If you guys see a faster way to do this, let me know. If you think this is unrealistic, let me know. Move out of California first and then we'll chat. Only kidding, you can still live there. But this is basically how to retire in 5 years. Because if you start in year one, if you start in 2020, by 2025, you've got 8 properties, 5 are multifamilies, 3 are just an additional rental that could be multi or single, and you're getting $6,500 a month in cash flow. That's $78,000 a year. Like, that's pretty darn good. And here's the crazy thing, right? Because I'm sure I'm gonna get some flack for being like, oh,
Oh, well, you're not accounting for this, you're not accounting for that, or whatever.
even if I'm off by 50%, I don't know how you can be off by that big of a margin of error. Even if I'm off by 50%, right? That's still $3,250 per month in cash flow, which is pretty darn good, right? And it's still, let's see, what's 78 divided by 40, 39. Okay, that's still $39,000 a year, right? I mean, it's not quite as nice as this, but that's if I'm wrong by 50%, or if something terrible happens, and I can't think of a scenario where this is gonna work at 50%. Same thing over here, right? $4.7 million divided by 2. Like, oh shucks, I'm sitting on 2.35. Darn, you know what I mean? Like, so like I get a lot of flack from people, like my friends or coworkers or family, when I talk about things like this, because they're like, oh, well, you're being idealistic, or what if this goes wrong, or what if this. I'm like, that's built into the plan, you know? If you're living on, let's just say, $3,000 a month, and then out of nowhere your portfolio gets cut in half, you're still cash flowing. You're still fine. And that's not working a job, right? Most people, like myself included, most people who have the mental fortitude or whatever to be able to sit down and spend your time to do this aren't gonna get, to here in 5 years and say, you know what, I'm never gonna work again. I'm gonna sit on the beach for the rest of my life. Like, no, you're gonna wanna do something. And that thing is probably gonna be either a job or it's gonna be something you do that you can then somehow monetize to some degree, right? So even if you do this and you get the $6,500 a month, you're still probably gonna do something else that'll make you more money. And the cool thing is there's no reason you can't keep doing this, right? You could do this for another 5 years. You could spend the next 10 years of your life moving every year, which sounds bad. It's not bad. Okay, suck it up. You can do it for the next 10 years, move every year. You can move in your same town, just keep buying one multifamily every 12 months. Do that every year, and then just double all these numbers, right? And then because of compounding, the 4.7 million is actually bigger. It's not just double, but you get the point. So, because things compound, we got that. So, here's a 5-year retirement plan. If you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know. We can make other retirement plans together. I love this kind of stuff. This the kind of stuff that gets me fired up. So if you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to smash the like button, comment, subscribe, turn on the little bell notification thing so you can get notified whenever I make one of these wonderful videos. If you're on the podcasts, drop a rating or review. Pretty please, make it 5 stars if you enjoy the content. Tell a friend. So overall, this is my plan. What's your guys' plan look like, and do you need help with it? But for today's episode of Your Road to Financial Freedom, this is Eric McAvoy signing off.